Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It has been just a moment since I've been here again, and I'm back for some more video game music. If you saw the title, we're going to be talking about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 today. If you're anything like me and you like video game music, then you have no doubt heard more than enough about Clair Obscur. Truly, it's just going to be the game of the year for music. I just can't imagine, unless someone really turns it out through the rest of this year, it's going to be them. But today, I want to talk specifically about one of the songs. I'm probably going to talk more about the rest of them at a later date, but there's one that I cannot get over. I just don't think it's getting enough attention. Some of the other ones, the ones that are getting a lot of attention, like Lumiere, Alicia, une vie something. You've probably seen it already. You know what I'm talking about. And if it's not clear, this is unscripted. I'm just talking today. But the one I'm talking about specifically is Rain from the Ground, or Rising Waters, I think is what it's called. Rising Waters, Rain from the Ground. Flying Waters, Rain from the Ground. This is pretty early on in the game, and it is absolutely wild. I cannot believe this. So basically, all I'm going to do today is just gush. Like, you can basically consider this a reaction video, but I just have to talk about this because not enough people are going on and on about this one like they are some of the other ones. So I'm going to listen to it. We're going to listen to it together and talk about it and some of the interesting little factoids around it. But I also want to first give it some context for anyone who doesn't remember, doesn't know, whatever it is. You get to this boss fight. It's a boss fight with, French names. I'm sorry. Goblu, I think is how it's pronounced. And it's, like I said, it's pretty early on. It's kind of the first, real area you get to after the tutorial and the main, early section where you're kind of getting everything set up and, learning how to do combat. And the music through, I think it's called Flying Waters, is the area, it's very, flowy and wet, lightly synthetic. You've got the vocalist singing along in the background. It's a very gentle area. I think that's kind of, reminiscent of the whole water theme that's going on, and kind of ironic considering all the shit that you had put up with up until that point. But then the scene where you're going into that fight, it's also got a kind of light haunting melody going on, and then it just suddenly breaks out into the boss fight music.
Watch out!
Okay, so before it gets into the really good part, when it just gets so unhinged, what I love about this this very beginning piece so much is that the bass line is just so what's the word for, like, it's chunky, it's nasty, but in such a good way. There's something visceral about it. I don't really know, this doesn't sound very complimentary, but it kind of like, I don't know, you know that feeling when you're about to throw up, like your esophagus is shortening? There's just, like, thinking about the music a little too hard. It's just something that just kind of like gives that sort of feeling in my chest. But also, like I said, in a really good way. Like, it's just so, I think I used the word funky already, but that's truly what it is. It's just, it's such a unique, out of place piece of music here as well. I don't think up until this point we've really heard anything like this, and it's just so confusing. I don't understand, well, I'll get there. I do understand why they did this, but we'll come back to that in a minute. We have to listen to more of this. It's just so good. Okay, that entire section there with the whatever synth sound in the main instrumentation there is wild. I don't remember what I felt the first time I heard this, because I actually kind of didn't acknowledge it that much, and I'm honestly quite ashamed of myself for saying that, because I heard it later in a different boss fight, an optional one somewhere in the overworld, and was like, holy shit, what is this? But then why didn't I hear it the first time around? I don't think I was actually listening. I think I might have had the volume turned down for like spoiler reasons, because my husband was playing nearby and I didn't want to spoil him. So I really feel like I missed out here, but it's such an unusual choice. One I'm very happy about, mind you.
Where are we?
What I really love about it too is over that, like, whatever it is, 40 seconds, you hear the same kind of repeating theme over and over, but each time something like gets added to it. A bit of extra instrumentation, maybe gets a little bit clearer kind of towards the end there. And all the while in the background, you've got the same thrumming bass note, and then you've also got some sort of wooden percussion instrument. I don't really know what it is, but it kind of gives the rain sound, which is rain from the ground. Hey, we got there. It's just such a cool use of those instruments, and it fits the area, it fits the fight on its own, but in the game, it's just completely out of the blue. And we're going to talk about the rest of the song as well. We're going to listen to it because I want to, haha. But I have to give a shout out to, and again, I'm so sorry, I'm not good at names. So again, if you like video game music, you're probably already aware, Alex Mukala. I don't know that I've ever even heard him say his own name. But he did an interview with the director, I think the director, and also the composer for this game. And during that, I'm gonna try again. I don't know the director's name, but the composer Laurent Testard, he mentioned that this piece, if it were up to him, would never have been in the game. I don't think he, well, I don't know. I didn't get the impression that he disliked it, but how it even ended up in the game in the first place was that I think they said he sent a like track list basically to the director with something like, I think he said 300 different tracks, and they were in like a ranked order more or less. And this one was all the way at the bottom. It wasn't the one on the bottom, I don't think he said, but it was way, way, way at the bottom. But the director apparently listened to all of them, and he loved this piece and said, oh, we need to put this one in there. And the even funnier part is the composer said that this wasn't really like composed as a full track. It was more of a test track to, I think he said it was something to test out some of the bass and synth instruments. And so it wasn't like a fully thought out piece at that time. And yet it still ended up in the game. That is so funny to me. They also mentioned that there were some other ones in the game that it was kind of the other way around, where the director wasn't all that interested in it, but the composer was advocating for it. So I can't remember which one that was that they had mentioned, but it was also another banger from the soundtrack. So yeah, this is truly one of those, like, but for the grace of God situations. Again, it's a little out of place, but kind of in the best way. And hell, that's what one of my most recent videos was about, was music that's completely out of place and is such a banger. This truly would go on that list, I think. I was a little unsure about some of those in there, if they even made sense for the list, because it was kind of all just vibes. Anyway, let's continue listening to it. Unfortunately, we are out of the really fucking banger retro synth section, but the rest of it is still really good as well. What I really like about the rest of this piece is that for probably the half of what we just listened to there, it still has that bass line playing in the background, and then it's got the, well, I think this is a MIDI piece, so I don't know that it was a full orchestration, so I'm not 100% sure if it's supposed to be string instruments, but it sounds like string instruments, and they're kind of a wavy, like up and down sound, but they're still tense. That makes it still fit for a boss fight, and I've definitely seen those boss fight music songs, pieces that don't really like fit, but not in an interesting way. It's just kind of boring. Unfortunately, I think the first Xenosaga game, I did not like the boss fight music. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head because I get them kind of confused, but it's like, I get it, but I don't like it, you know? And I think actually maybe if we were to go further into Xenosaga, I'd have some other opinions where everything was great except for this one and also maybe that one. But back to this one. Then the latter half of what we just listened to there, actually kind of gets rid of that bass line, and then it's more or less just focusing solely on the tense strings, and that it's a little bit, to me, less interesting because like it's sort of the bridge. Like it is this track loops after the end of it, but it's just sort of getting you there to go back to the beginning, for me anyway. It's really effective and it's doing what it's supposed to, but it is also, I don't know. You know what? I'm not a composer. It has a similar construction, I feel like, to maybe more of a song rather than a looping fight. What I found very strange was the way it does transition or loop back on itself. It ends this, like, just what we listen to ends on that real chunky bass line. But then when it loops back, there's a pause. It doesn't like hit the bass like the beginning of the song does. It's that bass note, then a pause, then it gets back into the bass that it starts with. And I thought that was a very strange way to construct it instead of just making it seamless, but at the same time I understand for the purposes of a singular piece, that makes it nice and easy. But what do I know? I'm just talking off the top of my head here. It's still such an amazing piece. Like, I have not stopped talking about this since I played the game. When the hell did it even come out? It's been like a month now, and I cannot get over this piece. Fortunately, I haven't listened to it constantly like I really want to, which I feel like has helped me keep interest in it, because if I listen to a song too much, then I just kind of get bored of it. I get tired, like, okay, yeah, I know everything that happens here. There's nothing interesting happening anymore, but this, I've really like sort of kept it at arm's length, and so every time I listen to it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the good shit. Like, how do I inject the vibe of this just directly into my veins? I would be unstoppable. Well, on that strange note, I think that's basically all I had to really say about it. All I had to say, and I'm, what is this, like 16 minutes probably now, if not longer? Sort of like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I just wanted to gush about this piece in particular. I just don't think it's getting enough love. The other pieces I see all the time, I already mentioned, they're good, they're amazing, they're great, but where's the love for this one? Like, at the time of recording this, if I go on to YouTube and look specifically for this piece, there are, I don't even think a dozen reaction videos to it, and believe me, I've looked. I have looked in such a way that I've gotten to the end of the search results, and there hasn't hardly been anything there. So I just, with what is going to almost certainly be Game of the Year for the soundtrack is going to be soundtrack of the year at the Game Awards, whatever you want to say, it baffles me that there aren't more people talking about this one. I have seen a few people, oh God, I'll have to put their name up on screen because I can't remember who they are. The something fairies? I'm sorry, I cannot remember their name, but I was watching their stream and they got to this piece and were like, oh, I'm immediately adding this to Spotify. I think someone else as well, it was just recently, they were like, oh, holy shit. They hadn't played the game, but they were being like shown the music by somebody else, and they as well could not get over that chunky bass line. That truly is the thing that was holding this whole thing up. I mean, without it, it would still be phenomenal, but there's just something about that carries you through the whole thing, and it's just, like I said, it's such a visceral, like physical reaction to it, but in such a positive way. Anyway, that is basically all I have to say about this. I am not a musician. I have, a history in music, choir and playing the piano, but I don't know music theory. I'm truly just vibes only. And this is such a technically proficient soundtrack, but also a heavily vibey soundtrack. So it kind of works for both sets of people, like me, who just want to get their voice out there speaking positively about this, even though it doesn't necessarily make sense. So either way, if you liked that, feel free to watch some of my more recent videos about music, and I still have a plan to possibly talk more about this soundtrack, maybe in a more scripted situation where I actually have my thoughts together and I'm not just rambling, but we'll see. It took me this long to get this video when I'd had it planned out for weeks now, so who knows when I'll get that out, but it'll be sometime in the future. So feel free to subscribe so you see it when it actually comes out.